Alright, let's be honest. Picking the best weapon in Megabonk isn't exactly easy. With so many different builds, combos, and hidden synergies, it can feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle where every piece changes every run. One weapon absolutely destroys waves in one build, then suddenly feels like a wet noodle in another. So, to save you from all that confusion, we decided to break everything down and rank the weapons based on real gameplay experience. Now, before you start yelling in the comments, just remember, this tier list isn't written in stone. It's based on what actually worked for us after a lot of hours, and a lot of failed runs. You might have your own secret setup that turns a C-tier weapon into an absolute monster, and that's totally fine. So, grab your favorite loadout, settle in, and let's see where your favorite weapon lands on our Megabonk weapons tier list. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking weapons in Megabonk. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching! The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Black Hole, Chunkers, Mines, and Space Noodle. You know that feeling when you pick up a weapon and immediately regret your life choices? Yeah, that's basically the D tier in Megabonk. These are the weapons that make you question why you even bothered showing up to the fight. Let's dive into the sad, slow, and sometimes utterly useless arsenal you probably shouldn't touch unless you're feeling masochistic. First up, we have Chunkers. Oh boy, Chunkers are a true test of patience. Their attack speed is so slow you could probably take a nap, have breakfast, and still wait for one swing to land. To even make them remotely usable, you absolutely need the size and quantity tome. Without it, Chunkers are basically the gaming equivalent of carrying a fridge to a sword fight. If you do invest, they can scale with size, projectile count, damage, and knockback. But let's be real, it's a grind and then some. Next on the list is Mines. Mines are the ultimate specialty tool that nobody asked for. They don't really have synergies with other weapons and are only good in very specific scenarios. And the damage? Underwhelming at best, especially since they can't even crit. Sure, they scale with projectile count and damage, but only if you're stacking the stars perfectly. Otherwise, they're basically a decorative hazard. Then we have Black Hole. Now, Black Hole might sound ominous and powerful, but in reality, it's more like a gentle cosmic sigh. It has the lowest base damage in the game, and even with constant upgrades, it struggles to turn into a decent damage per second weapon. The silver lining? It's actually kind of fun as a secondary weapon for crowd control. You know, pull everyone in, make them dizzy, and watch them flail helplessly while you pick off the easy targets. Moving on, Space Noodle is the weapon that promises the universe, but delivers a lukewarm noodle soup. It's supposed to clear multiple enemies over a specified range, but in practice, it rarely does what it says on the tin. Synergies are poor, scaling is tricky, and honestly, it can feel like the developers just wanted to mess with us. The only stats that even give it a tiny boost are damage and duration. But let's face it, you'll be wishing you picked literally anything else. Chunkers, Mines, Black Hole, Space Noodle, what they all have in common is that they make you work extra hard for very little reward. They scale okay if you really commit, but even then, it's a grind that most players would politely decline. Using them without perfect setups? Prepare to cry a little inside. And yet, there's a weird charm to D tier. It's the underdog story that never really gets the happy ending. Using Chunkers or Mines can feel like playing a separate, slower-paced game, where patience is your only weapon. Black Hole makes you feel like a cosmic manipulator, even if your enemies aren't actually impressed. Space Noodle. Well, it gives you noodle vibes, so there's that. Honestly, these weapons are like that one friend who insists on tagging along on adventures but ends up slowing everyone down. You love them, but you also kind of hate them. Megabonk wouldn't be the same without this chaotic D-tier circus. They remind us that not every weapon is meant to shine, and sometimes the fun comes from trying and failing spectacularly. So next time you stumble upon Chunkers, Mines, Black Hole, or Space Noodle, just remember, you're not weak, you're brave. Or maybe a little reckless. Either way, D-tier is here to challenge your patience, tickle your frustration, and give you stories you'll laugh about later, or cry about in secret. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Poison Flask, Sword, and Tornado. Ever picked up a weapon and thought, meh, it's okay I guess? Welcome to C tier in Megabonk. These weapons aren't terrible, but they won't exactly make you feel like a legend either. They're solid choices if you want something functional, but don't expect fireworks. Let's start with the Sword. It does decent damage and can hit multiple enemies at once, which is nice. But here's the catch. The attack speed is slow, and early on the number of projectiles is painfully low. Handling swarms or big bosses, not its strong suit. Plus, it only swings in one direction, leaving the other three sides wide open for enemies to waltz right in. That said, if you invest in upgrades, it scales with size, projectile count, knockback, and damage, making it somewhat respectable mid to late game. Next up, Poison Flask. This one has a neat trick. It can create a barrier of poison to keep enemies at bay thanks to its high knockback. Very satisfying to watch foes fly away, right? The downside is that it demands a lot of weapon upgrades and knockback tome investments. On top of that, its damage scaling is kind of meh, so don't expect it to carry you through harder waves alone. But used smartly, it can be a nice zoning tool. Then there's Tornado, which is almost like Poison Flask's slightly windier cousin. It also works as a barrier to push enemies back with high knockback, giving you breathing room when things get hectic. But, just like Poison Flask, it requires heavy investments in both upgrades and the knockback tome to feel useful. Damage scaling is poor, so if you're hoping to melt bosses quickly, you'll be a bit disappointed. Honestly, C-tier weapons are a bit like that dependable middle friend in your squad. They won't steal the spotlight, but they won't ruin the party either. Sword, Poison Flask, and Tornado all have their uses, but you have to know their limits and play around them. They reward strategy and patience more than raw chaos. So, if you find yourself rocking a C-tier weapon, don't feel bad. You're not broken. You're just playing smart. Just remember to manage expectations. You won't be dominating leaderboards with these, but with the right upgrades and tactics, they can still keep you alive and even make you look a little clever in the process.
The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Axe, Bow, Blood Magic, Bone, Dragon's Breath, Frostwalker, Fire Staff, Hero Sword, Shotgun, Slutty Rocket, and Wireless Dagger. Ever had that moment when you pick up a weapon and think, this might actually do something? That's B tier and Megabonk for you. These are the weapons that are solid, reliable, and often make you feel like a competent player, but they won't exactly make you a legend. Yet. Starting with the bow, it's a classic for a reason. Good base damage that scales quickly, arrows that spread as your projectile count goes up, and each arrow pierces through enemies for multi-kills. The catch? It only shoots in one direction, so you better have your aiming skills on point. But with upgrades to projectile count, damage, critical chance, and critical damage, it can become a beast in the right hands. Then we have the Wireless Dagger. Think of this as your trusty third or fourth weapon in any long-range build. It can handle swarms if you invest in projectile count upgrades, and the multi-hit effect synergizes beautifully with lifesteal. Downside? It's an expensive early investment which might prevent you from leveling up other weapons as quickly. Still, the scaling is solid. Damage, projectile quantity, attack speed, duration, and projectile bounces. Next up is the Fire Staff. The classic, keep your distance and burn stuff weapon. It shoots fireballs that can hit single targets or multiple enemies in an area. Perfect for ranged builds, especially when you want to avoid getting smacked in the face. Weakness? Struggles against swarms due to limited projectile count and gets outclassed by higher tier weapons if you're not careful. Scaling is straightforward. Size, damage, projectile count, and attack speed. Let's talk Bone. This weapon has great base damage, some knockback, and critical chance. It can even bounce off enemies to hit multiple targets, which feels oddly satisfying. The problem is, it's slow even with attack speed upgrades, so you'll need to be patient. Scaling-wise, it benefits from projectile count, projectile bounce, damage, and knockback. Then there's the axe. Simple and deadly. One projectile can hit multiple enemies, making it surprisingly effective. It scales easily with basic items like battery. Downsides? Projectiles only go forward, and the attack speed is painfully slow. Upgraded in size, duration, damage, projectile count, and attack speed, and it can hold its own. Slutty Rocket is the cheeky B-tier weapon you'll love or hate. Heat-seeking missiles that never miss, with a base critical chance that allows crit scaling. The catch? It's only worth using if you're stacking the quantity tome. Otherwise, it's more of a fun gimmick than a serious weapon. Shotgun. If you love damage and knockback up close, this is your go-to. It works well as a third or fourth weapon in ranged builds, though currently obtaining it is a bit buggy. Operates almost like a melee weapon. Deadly in close range, but struggles to hit distant enemies. Scales with damage, knockback, size, and projectile count. Frostwalker brings the cold. Literally. It deals damage and freezes enemies, which can be incredibly useful. The downside? It only works well with Noel's damage passive, so it's situational at best. Scaling stats include size, attack speed, and damage. Then we have Dragon's Breath, a fiery B-tier favorite. Inflicts burn on enemies to deal damage over time, and has one of the highest base damages in the game. Unfortunately, its synergies are poor, and it falls off hard after an initial strong start. Scale it with size, damage, and duration for best results. Hero Sword is basically a melee staple. Same base damage as the katana, decent knockback, but a very slow attack rate. Works best in melee builds, and with upgrades in size, projectile count, attack speed, damage, and knockback, it can still hold its own in longer fights. Last but not least, Blood Magic. A weapon that combines decent damage with lifesteal, making it great for boss fights, especially Tier 3 encounters. The downside? Scaling is slow, and it has zero base critical chance. Still, if you're patient and upgrade size, projectile count, attack speed, and damage, it can be a surprisingly useful tool in your arsenal. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Corrupted Sword, Flamewalker, Katana, Lightning Staff, and Revolver. Ever grabbed a weapon and felt like, yes, this is what I was born to use? That's a tier in Megabonk. These weapons don't just perform, they make you feel unstoppable. They hit hard, scale beautifully, and often turn fights into a display of pure chaos. Starting with the Revolver, this one's a classic powerhouse. Excellent base projectile quantity, bullets that bounce as you level up, and a solid base critical chance that allows for incredible crit scaling. Honestly, it's one of the best ranged weapons in the game, and if you focus on damage, projectile count, bounces, crit chance, crit damage, and attack speed, it becomes almost unfair. Next up is Flamewalker. Imagine leaving a fiery trail wherever you walk. Sounds cool, right? It deals area of effect fire damage, can clear swarms with enough projectiles and duration, and is perfect for passive experience farming. The catch? You have to keep moving constantly to make it effective, or you'll just be a walking barbecue that does nothing. Scale it with damage, duration, projectile count, and size for maximum Inferno vibes. Then there's the Katana, a weapon that practically screams, "I'm here to kill bosses." Superb damage, amazing critical scaling, and excellent for lifesteal builds. It's surprisingly effective against hordes, elites, and bosses alike. Upgrade size, damage, crit chance, crit damage, attack speed, and projectile count, and you'll feel like a samurai god cutting through chaos. Lightning Staff is next. This one loves movement. Great area of effect weapon. Can hit multiple enemies at once, and fits beautifully in movement-focused builds. The only downside is that it's not ideal for crit-based builds, but it's a beast for clearing groups and zipping around the battlefield. Scaling stats include damage, projectile count, and projectile bounce. Then we have the Corrupted Sword, the rebellious sibling in the sword family. Unique because it shoots 2 projectiles, one forward, one backward, so aiming is less of a hassle. High base attack speed makes it useful right from the start. And here's the fun twist. Its damage increases as your health decreases. Scale it with knockback, damage, projectile count, attack speed, and size, and you've got a weapon that punishes you for being reckless. A-tier weapons are basically the cool kids of Megabonk. They make fights feel dynamic, fun, and chaotic in all the right ways. They reward skillful play, smart upgrades, and sometimes just daring to run straight into danger. Unlike lower-tier weapons, these ones let you feel powerful without having to grind through endless upgrades. They're the tools that make you look and feel like a pro, even when the odds are stacked against you. Using A-tier weapons is also about confidence. Whether it's bouncing bullets with Revolver, leaving a trail of flames with Flamewalker, or slicing hordes with Katana, you're not just fighting, you're putting on a show. And the best part? Even in late-game chaos, A-tier weapons rarely let you down. They scale beautifully, synergize well with builds, and can often carry you through waves that would make lesser weapons feel like paper in a hurricane. So next time you grab an A-tier weapon, strap in and get ready to feel like Megabonk's very own superhero. Chaos power and sheer satisfaction await. The weapons in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Aegis, Aura, Bananarang, Dexecutioner, Dice, and Sniper Rifle. Alright, let's get real. S-tier weapons in Megabonk aren't just good, they're straight-up game changers. These are the tools that dominate the meta, scale beautifully, and basically make you feel like an unstoppable force no matter the character you pick. If you want to build a serious run, these are the ones you prioritize. Starting off strong, we have Aura. This weapon is the gift that keeps on giving. You don't even need to aim. Aura covers all sides at once. Normal enemies, elites, bosses, they all get knocked back. Plus, it synergizes with multiple tomes and items, so leveling it up is a breeze. Focus on scaling size, attack speed, and damage, and you'll be laughing at anything that comes near you. Next is Bananarang, which is pure chaos in a good way. Increase its size and projectile count, and suddenly you have one of the best ranged weapons in the game. Lifesteal builds adore it, and it can even form a shield that holds off swarms. Scale it with size, attack speed, projectile count, and damage, and you're basically untouchable. Then we've got the Sniper Rifle, the king of focused fire, highest base damage in the game. Bullets pierce through multiple enemies, and knockback is strong. Manual aiming lets you pick off elites and bosses like a pro. Just pump up the fire rate and this baby becomes one of the top damage per second weapons in Megabonk. Scaling stats, projectile count, damage, and size. Dice is the crit master. If your build is crit focused, this is your go-to. Roll a 6 and your crit chance permanently increases. Boss fights become a breeze, and with each level up, damage and crit scale beautifully. The only catch? RNG plays a part, so sometimes luck is a cruel friend. Scale dice with projectile count, attack speed, crit chance, crit damage, and damage for maximum havoc. Next up, Aegis, the ultimate defensive tool. Want to block incoming damage while still being a threat? Aegis has got your back. It even releases shockwaves that damage and knock back enemies. Boss hits might break through occasionally, but with scaling and damage, knockback, projectile count, size, and duration, you'll survive longer than most. Then there's Dexecutioner, a weapon that screams, "I dare you to get close." With enough cooldown tome upgrades, it generates a constantly present projectile, almost like a laser beam. Plus, it has a chance to execute enemies outright. The limitation? Only one projectile at a time and it attacks in one direction. Still, scale it with damage, critical chance, crit damage, projectile count, attack speed, and size, and it's terrifying. S-tier weapons are all about feeling powerful while playing smart. They reward timing, positioning, and knowing which tomes and upgrades to prioritize. These are the weapons that make you feel like Megabonk isn't even a game. It's your playground. Unlike lower-tier options, S-tier allows you to dominate early, mid, and late-game scenarios. Enemies feel helpless, bosses get shredded, and swarms? What swarms? You're in full control. The synergy potential here is insane. Aura works with everything. Bananarang pairs perfectly with Lifesteal. Dice makes crit builds laughably effective. And Executioner can literally mow down enemies if timed right. Choosing the right S-tier weapon can elevate your entire run. Scaling is key, of course. Each weapon has specific stats to focus on, whether it's size, attack speed, projectile count, or damage. Maximize these and suddenly you're running Megabonk like a pro. And honestly, part of the fun is just the sheer power fantasy. Rolling through levels with an S-tier loadout feels cinematic. You're not just playing, you're performing, strategically and stylishly demolishing anything that stands in your way. So when you see an S-tier weapon drop, don't think twice. Pick it up, upgrade it, and let Megabonk know you mean business. Chaos, crits, knockbacks, and total domination. S-tier is basically the VIP pass to feeling like a legend. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.